Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 10 a.m. on the hour on the 20th of July 2025, Sunday. It's a beautiful day outside, and I was going to put the birdies out, but it's actually quite cold. I had to put a cardigan on. I've taken the heater off. I have their heater on through the night, you know, just on very low, just to keep the chill and the bite off the air, but it's quite cool. But it's 10 a.m, so I suspect by midday it'll warm up enough for me to put the little birdies out in the sunshine, which they really enjoy, being out in the garden. So I've got Kermie free birding at the moment. He's up on top of his cage and looking down on creation. How does that song? I'm on top of the world, looking down on creation. Well, almost, but not quite. Little cage birds can only aspire to certain great heights. They'll never sit on the top of a canopy of a tree ever again, but it's kind of weird when you think about it. Each individual creature's destiny or fate, how some remain wild but struggle in the wild for their daily survival, and others are pampered pets but don't get to live the dreaming and the exquisite nature of living life hanging by a thread, and the balance between nature and magic and the capricious whims of the cosmos. So I better not think too much about that, or I'll start getting, anxious and depressed about my own entrapment into modern contemporary society and all the things that, the risk assessment benefits and all the things that costs me in the long run. Just going to pull my blind down, because it's a beautiful sunny day, and I love it. I love sunshine, but does it stab one in the eyeballs? Right, I can see a little bit better now. Oh, by the gods. So I've been watching various videos still about the Epstein files and the fall of Donald Trump and America as I know it, with my usual admixture of schadenfreude and ghastly horror, watching the outcome unravelling as I knew it always would. It's so fun, It's so fun when you find out that you were right all along, and all the people that gaslighted me and victimised me have got egg on their faces now, and I just really enjoy it when I'm validated. And that doesn't mean I'm right about everything and everyone and every situation. God, has anyone seen my love life? Like, hello, how far wrong could I have been there? But it was just a trick and a lure and a seduction, and every woman and man wants their true love, so it was very easy to be played in that way. Evil and cruel though it was, it's just too easy, too fucking easy. But with the Trump and the Epstein thing, I always knew that was going to play out the way it's played out. I always knew people are there. I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse. I can always tell a creep when I see one. Creep being defined as adult human people who prey on children or vulnerable young people. Definition of creep. So there is that. Right, let us continue with the great philosophical and psychological mergings and elucidations that emerge out of this wonderful book, The Mythic Journey. We're up to chapter 3 of part 2. the quest for meaning. I'm just going to move this. I'm going to sit back a bit because the light, people. It's even reflecting all over my page and this cross hatching, making it very difficult to read. What shall I do about that? Close the entire blind and sit in semi-darkness. Doesn't make any difference. Right, anyway, the quest for meaning bears a different face for the young than for the old. In the flower of youth, we seek to define who and what we are and search for a sense of uniqueness which can reflect an individual purpose and destiny. Meaning may be sought in what we achieve in the world, in love, or in whatever gives us joy. But more often than not, meaning arises not from the conscious pursuit of a deeper understanding of life, but from experiences which reveal dimensions of life we had not known existed. In other words, meaning for the young is often the result of an encounter with experience, rather than the goal of a conscious quest. Later in life, we are more aware of the greater whole of which we are a part and the continuity of generations in which we partake only for a short span. Meaning for the old may lie in voluntarily exploring life's deeper mysteries and in that sense of unity which generates compassion, detachment, and an awareness of spiritual realities. Meaning is usually pursued as a conscious goal when the attractions of the outer world have faded. But meaning for youth is often a highly egocentric business, just as it should be, a vague but beckoning light, which gives our lives magic, passion, impetus, and direction. Väinämöinen and the Talisman. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly. It could be Väinämöinen. It could be all sorts of other linguistic varieties. So, you know what? I like Väinämöinen better. We'll stick with that. It's probably completely wrong, but what the hell? Let's be playful, people of Earth. Let's play with language and see what new fabrics of reality we can create out of the artifices of the old. That was a complete wank, wasn't it? It was, I know. But sometimes one just has to, self-flagellate ever just so slightly. Be playful. Be playful with life. For when one looks into the abyss looks right back at you, babies. And sometimes it involves not taking things too seriously, being playful. It's a tool in the toolkit of survival, how to survive strange distortions of reality and synchronicities and time speeding up and relationships, long, decades-long relationships falling away. The only way to stay sane, people of Earth, is just to have a good old laugh and slap them on the shoulder and paddle them on their ass and hand them a cigar and send them on their way and, yeah, be playful and have a good old chuckle about it all. Feck them if they can't take a joke. The end is always the same, people of Earth. And true hearts and true minds and true souls always reveal themselves in the end. See also D.T. Trump. Mama T. Clever Mama T. It's a pity I couldn't do something with my cleverness and turn it into a lucrative, profession or business or something that generates wealth, but meaning and truth are, prizes far beyond rubies. It's a biblical statement. Or was it Talmudic? A woman of valor, her price is far beyond rubies. She says with ruby-coloured lipstick and psychedelic mushrooms hanging off her ears. Well, there are ways to navigate reality and regain your power and your equilibrium and indeed your deepest, truest love from deep within yourself, because everything outwards is just a reflection really of who you are. And as soon as I began to lose confidence and doubt what was being gifted to me, it all just evaporated like a mirage, which showed me that even being Pollyanna and wishing and hoping and yearning ain't enough when it comes to relationships with others. What is true remains true and solid and tangible and heartfelt and balanced and compassionate and forgiving and sweet till the end of time, people of Earth. Real loves can't be stolen from you by hawk-faced pterodactyls. Oh, I'm saying that half jokingly, really. I really couldn't care less, Beneath my dignity, not high enough caliber. What is high caliber for me? Constancy, loyalty, devotion, kindness. Not trying to dominate and control someone that you professed once upon a time to love. Ugly, very ugly. Well, what do they say in homeopathics, my darlings? Like cures like. Mama T's not like most other mortals. She survived far too much for far too long and tried to save you all too, to be fair. And, well, if you dishonour that, that's on you, babies. Right, where were we? Faina Moinan? Or is it Moynihan? No. I don't even know where the story comes from. Does it tell us what language it is? What's the unusual words and names I'm going to struggle with too? Is it Finnish? Is it Icelandic? I'm trying to guess. I wish they'd told us. Well, anyway, all the Finnish, I suspect it's Finnish. But all the Finnish people in the world are going, no, Tanya, it's pronounced this way. And are laughing at me right now. And, oh, yes, here we have it. In the first sentence when I start to read. The great Finnish epic. Bing, bam, boom, Mama T. How clever was I to guess that without reading the story? But then I have read this book before many, many years ago, so it was probably tucked away in my subconscious waiting to be floated up to, today's reality. Well, anyway, I will pat myself on the shoulder for having a very active subconscious and a good memory and a sense of language and of time and of place and the space-time continuum. And here we go, babies. Väinämöinen and the Talisman. The compromise of ideals. Trying to get my book out of the cross-hatching shadow created by my insect screens. Living in the subtropics, you have to have insect screens, people. Right, the compromise of ideals. Väinämöinen, the hero of the great Finnish epic, the Kalevala, is a semi-human, semi-magical figure, but capable of suffering like any mortal. It's a shame, isn't it, when you're half a god and you're forced to suffer like a mortal. I think the suffering might even be worse because you know what is possible and how you could have avoided all that if you'd only been created as a true god. Let's just think about that for a moment. Let's take a moment for all the half-gods and semi-humans and not quite, manifested and complete and fulfilled humans too. Let's take a moment. The NPCs and the zombies. We take a moment. When I dance to that song, I'm not mocking you, by the way. I'm actually committing an outpouring of emotion, of war cry that should never have happened to any living being, human, animal, any sentient creature. To be turned into a zombie is one of the foulest of fates, and I know because I lived like one for a very long time, drooling and shuffling, barely coping. I still kind of barely cope most days, but I have my mind back, people of Earth. I have my mind back. Perhaps I always had it, but it was semi-comatose most of the time at that phase of existence. Right, we've taken a moment, we've thought about the NPCs and the zombies of our world, for which I do grieve, and it's why I fight for you on a daily basis. I want you revivified like me, but you have to choose that, people of Earth. You have to fight for your own revivification. And perhaps you need someone like me, as loopy as I appear to the uninitiated, to remind you of what is possible. And you have to have the humility to ask for the help and the support, because by the gods, I didn't do this alone. To my doctor, happy birthday. It's his birthday today. So there are wonderful humans out in the world who truly see you, your inner magic, your semi-human, semi-magical tropes, and by sheer determination, literally breathe life into you. In his case, by foisting CPAP on me that I wasn't so sure would work and wasn't all that keen on. Well anyway, he gifted me that CPAP, not just foisted on me, but gifted it to me. And here we are, 1 year, and what's the date today? The 20th? Or 1 year and 16 days later, and honestly, to be honest, I do still quite tired, but that'll be my, innate CPTSD issues and my very weird diet issues, and I don't know. But I am getting better. There's been an improvement. I'm seeing it within myself. Look, even my eyes look larger. They used to look like shriveled little raisins when I was on heavy psych meds. I was all shriveled and squinty and ill. But those who loved me anyway, and rode alongside me like riders in the storm, to be here for the third life of the Tanya. Is it the third life, really? Wow, the crondom, the ageing Tanya who's seen too much and lived through too much and technically should not have survived it. But I was gifted by my doctor, my psychiatrist, and by true and loving friends, and by the gods. They must have seen something in me that was beautiful or potent or poignant or somehow valuable. I don't know what that is, people of Earth, but they must have seen something, or I would not be here today sitting on this chair in my semi-shaded room with my semi-existence, living my half-life, like curing like, and love turning to hatred against my own will, because it's not what I would have chosen. Living out this psychedelic dream until the gods finally, once and for all, call me home. Or home. Where is Valhalla these days? Don't know. Right. So, Vainamoinen is semi-human, semi-magical, but capable of suffering like any mortal. Here we see his attempt to make a magical talisman to win himself the woman of his choice. Don't bother, darling, it doesn't work unless you have the right kind of magic, or the gods allow it. Really is. You think love is for your own choosing. No, love chooses you. Stings you on the behind with that little piercing from that fat little angel. And once chosen, it has to play itself out to the ultimate conclusion, my darlings. And there are sometimes many loves in a person's life, not just one, which is heart-wrenching for those that you must leave behind as you move into a new kind of existence with somebody new. It's heart-wrenching for the ones left behind. But it is what it is. It's an ancient suffering and an ancient becoming, the getting of wisdom and the finding out whose heart truly is cleaving to you and who you cleave to and who chooses you and who sparks joy and who genuinely offers you safety and who stands with you proud and dignified and happy to be in your company. Authenticity, reality, not fake chimeric mirages. Right, here we are. Here we see his attempt to make a magical talisman to win himself the woman of his choice. But we've all done it, us magical ones. Hope springs eternal. In the end, it is not the woman, but the talisman itself, which proves to be more important. Wainamoinen's mistakes, as well as his courage, show us that while we may think we want one thing, we may find we are meant to seek another. What does Mama T seek for? Peace and contentment and safety in her sacred space garden, surrounded by her true beloved ones, who at this moment in time come to me most often as little birdies. Don't they, Kermie? She says, yes, Mama, I found my way to you. Wainamoinen, son of the Virgin of the Air. Now that's interesting. A virgin of the air. Wished to marry a beautiful woman of the Lapps, which is Lapland. Must be near Finland, isn't it? I think it's not that far from Finland. I'll have to look on the map later. Perhaps you might look on the map too, because we need to know where Lapland is now. But she threw herself into the sea rather than marry him. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a bit dramatic, isn't it? I wonder why she didn't think he was worth living for. Dear goddess. She must have been in love with someone else and didn't want to sell out on her dreams and her ideals and her heart, mind, body and soul. I get it. Weary and sad, the hero left his home and wandered for a time. He then decided to take a wife among the people of a far-away land. Louhi, the protectress of that land, promised Wainamoinen the hand of her own daughter, a peerlessly beautiful maiden, if he could forge a sampo, a talisman which could bring eternal prosperity to the land. So she must have already recognised him as some kind of magician or mage. Spurred on by the promised reward of a beautiful young witch, Wainamoinen set about making the talisman. But he quickly grew bored with all the planning, preparation and hard work. So he asked his friend, the smith Ilmarinen, to make the sampo for him. This Ilmarinen did, but the daughter of Louhi, seeing the magic object and the great art and ingenuity of its creator, decided she preferred the smith, as you would. One always admires great artists. Thus, Wainamoinen was once more rejected and without a wife. But his friend's marriage soon ended in grief, for Ilmarinen's wife, who should have been Wainamoinen's, was devoured by bears. Bloody hell, it's a bit intense, isn't it? The smith then asked to marry Louhi's second daughter, and carried the girl off forcibly when he was refused. But she crept away when his back was turned and gave herself to another man. Humiliated and ashamed, Ilmarinen told his friend Wainamoinen about the prosperity which their Sampo had brought to the land, and declared that Wainamoinen should have made it for himself and his own people, rather than leading his friend into such unhappiness. Feeling angry and ashamed himself, Wainamoinen hatched a plan to steal the Sampo, which was now hidden on a secret island. Here we have a detail of the forging of the Sampo, Akseli Galen Kalela, 1893. Made by the friend the smith because Wainamoinen got bored halfway through the task. So he lacked the follow through and the dedication to complete his task, which is a form of kind of weakness, lacking the fortitude to stick with a project to the end. Like my calf that, it didn't literally almost kill me, but it was very frustrating. I wore it out when I went dancing on Friday night. Nobody noticed. It doesn't matter, does it? It's just a piece of jewellery. But I'd look down at it and go, you know, Tanya, if you could find a man to stick with you like a project that needs to be refined and nurtured and adored, you could be as squidgy as this calf and nobody would even notice, because true love is stubborn like that. Oh, you have to laugh. You do. And what did I attract on Friday but that lovely Brazilian man, Rodrigo, who was, you know, quite good looking in his own way, but mad as a meat-axe. If you watch my videos, Rodrigo, you were lovely, but quite mad. He even said to me, I belong to the singles group, points to all the people in the group. I nod sagely. They're all quite mad, you know. I nod sagely. We're all quite mad. I mean, I've got my own madness. I'm not judging anyone. Well, hello, are you watching my videos? You get to see the real thing and all her squidginess, and sometimes quite delightful. We're all quite mad, he says. Yes, they were so mad that other woman competed for him with me, and fair play. I'm not there to you know, fight for some bit of gristle for one night only and throw it back into the whirlpool of the abyss and watch all the little pretties swim. I'm there to dance and have a good time and go home exhausted. And the right man for me will choose me each and every time. Not out of a control drama and possession like dear sweet Rodrigo, who was definitely dedicated for a while there, kept bouncing back to me out of fascination. Got jealous of my friend Hayley, and then later on he got jealous about something else. What was the other thing he got jealous of? There were two little things. Oh, here we go. Another one that thinks if you give him the slightest bit of kindness and attention, that suddenly he owns your heart, mind, body and soul. Rodrigo, aliente, por favor. You know, go on with extra strength and find your one, but one must not be jealous, especially of female friendships, for the love of all the gods, telling me and Hayley to get a room because we kept hugging each other. You know the real reason I probably kept hugging her? I was probably relieved because I had someone that's simpatico with me that I'm safe with, am I right? Because it can be a bit like that, surrounded by men all demanding my attention. You know, sweet, can be very sweet, but it can be a bit full on too. A bit kind of, this is a little bit too much attention for one evening. What's going on here? The magic was intense on Friday. If I had wanted to be a one-night stand and get laid, I had 3 men interested in me during the course of the evening. It was very flattering indeed. But by the gods, actually no, there were 4. There was a gentleman at the bar, who was a bit of a gentleman, straight, very subtly out with it. Hello, my name is, can't remember what his name was now. I live in Camp Hill, he says. I asked, oh really, I live in Holland Park, which happens to be right next door to Camp Hill. Oh, his eyes flickered, you know, the fuckery by geography. Men love that when you happen to live close by. Oh, she'll be an easy lay. She lives right next door. She'll be up and at it and willing and oh so conciliatory. I saw a flicker in his eyes and I thought, gotcha. Also, far too young, people of Earth. Far too young. But anyway, straight away he says, so what are your plans for the evening? Straight for the kill he went. Ooh, baby boy. I said, my plans, darling, are the same plans I have every Friday. Oh, what is that? I said, dance till I drop with exhaustion and then go home, contented and exhausted. Oh, I said, alone in my bed. Oh, even the bartender who was serving it, I think it was Morgan, even she kind of went, oh, look, he was sweet, but, you know, he got the equivalent of the cold teaspoon because he was too young. And the flickering of the eyes at the concept that I might live next door to him and, you know, therefore availability by geography was just ever so slightly off-putting, you understand? I'm such a bitch, but you all love me, don't you? You do. You love watching me twist and turn till I navigate my way to the man who's meant to be with me, my Bichette, a man who will be, you know, kind and honouring and not sleazy, for the love of all the gods. Well, Rodrigo wasn't sleazy, he was actually quite lovely, but he just wanted to use me for my fan. Fanned himself a lot with my fan. I said, treat that fan like a beautiful woman of fine distinction. What does that mean? Don't fucking break my fan. Oh, anyway, it was very amusing and delightful. Nobody got broken. Fan came home, safe and sound, ready to operate another day as a fan in its true form and its true vocation. Oh, you have to laugh. Anyway, where were we? I'm having so much fun today, can you tell? The power of the dance and the Mama T's ability to thrive in the face of human sexuality and sensuality and possibility. Yes, Kermie, your mother could have got laid 4 times over on Friday. All I would have had to say is, boys, I live right next door to you. Come over and see me sometime. But no, I didn't go there. Go, friends. Should I worry? No. Right, where were we? Ah yes, the smith who decided to marry the second daughter and carried her off forcibly when he was refused. Just fucking rude. Oh yes, we read all of that. Because of that, his friend blaming him for their misfortunes in love in return for their prosperity. Well, magic. There's always a caveat with magic. You always get what you wanted, but you don't always get what you need. Just saying. That's why you shouldn't dilly-dally and play with things that you don't understand. Right. He hatched a plan to steal the Sampo, which was now hidden on a secret island. So he's trying to reclaim his magic because he knows something's gone terribly, terribly wrong with it. Wainamoinen sailed towards the island, but the ship ran into an enormous fish and nearly sank. The fish was killed, and from its bones, Wainamoinen made a wondrous musical instrument, a 5-stringed dulcimer with magic powers. With this instrument, Wainamoinen lulled the guardians of the Sampo to sleep. He then stole the talisman and sailed away. But the guardians woke up too soon, and Louhi, the protectress of the land, roused a horrifying tempest, in the course of which Wainamoinen's magical instrument was carried away by the waves, and the Sampo was broken in pieces. Wainamoinen was able to rescue only its scattered fragments from the waters. Yet even these poor fragments were sufficient when he reached home again to ensure a reasonable degree of prosperity for his own land and people. Although the enraged Louhi unleashed his series of scourges against Wainamoinen's people and even shut up the sun and moon in a cavern, Wainamoinen triumphed and the land was safe. Commentary. What you doing, little snooks? Are you coming to see the mama? Are you coming to see the mama tea? Are we going to have snuggles and cuddles? No, we're going to do a poopy kids. All right. Commentary. This strange tale, full of magical feats, presents us with some of the typical dilemmas of youth. What are we seeking in life, and what do we believe will make us happy? For most young people, as for Wainamoinen, finding the right partner is initially the dominant drive, and it seems as though all our problems will be solved and we can find our place in the sun if only we can discover the perfect love. And no love is perfect, people of earth. Even if you're deeply in love with your spouse, there will be imperfections. It's completely normal that not everything will be exactly how you wish things to be, or your partner may have quirks that irritate you beyond belief, which you tolerate because you have children and you're a family, or the love might simply just evaporate like steam off a kettle, waiting to land again sometime in the distant future with brewing a nice hot beverage that is delectable and sweet, that tastes of ambrosia and is meant for you, my darlings. Did you know that I'm a romantic, even though I'm a cynic and a depressive and an anarchist and a revolutionary and a survivor to thriver? It's probably one of my most whimsical of charms. I have to frown and knit my brow and think about it again. Let me think about it again. Wainamoinen is rejected by the woman he first loves. Then he decides to leave his homeland and resolves to take a wife amongst strangers. So far, meaning for our hero, as for so many, is embodied in a beautiful face and the promise of sensual delights. That's not how you derive meaning, planet Earth people. It's just a biological imperative and a fickle fumbling, and sometimes it leads to a beautiful, solid, tangible, enduring love, and sometimes it's just a change in knickers and they're gone by tweet tweet of the birdies at daylight. If they even bother to last that long, ask me how I know. That's why I don't shilly-shally with dandies. It's to be a real man with a real passion and real love and real endurance. Let the weaklings unravel and fizzle out and frotter away, as they do, because they're weak, not meant for me. I know that sounds cruel and blasé and a bit fucking cold, but that's how it works, people of Earth. A man who loves his woman, truly loves his woman, is loyal and faithful and devoted and genuinely caring and respectful. So, to all of you blessed ones, men and women who have found partners like that, you're one who's yours, not as a possession or something to dominate and control or contain or tame or turn into some withered, dying, desiccated old fucking prune because she's given up on life and all its mystery and settled for just the illusion and the seclusion of a dream that becomes, trust me on this, a nightmare. No, 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 no. Mirage loves, false loves are the worst evil of all. Ask me how I know. Right, we'll try not to think about that. Otherwise, I'll spend the rest of the day in my zombie state. Mama does not wish to live as a zombie anymore. In just such a way are we impelled by what we believe to be our destiny, when what really drives us is our disappointed dreams and the need for our own emotional and physical gratification. It's a gift you need to give to yourself. Fill yourself up, and from that overwhelming source of real, authentic, powerful, blessed, magical love. Only then can you share with other mortals, others who are also willing to be your fountain of blessedness and beauty and art and creativity and sweetness and attentiveness and heartfelt, genuine care. Feed each other as two overflowing cups, like champagne bubbles. No, that doesn't work, does it? Because champagne bubbles effervesce and fizzle out. No, that's the wrong analogy. Like an ever-replenishing waterfall gifted by the gods. It's the reason why I'm still alone, people of Earth. Don't want to settle for anything less. As I often say, with great wisdom but also sadness, perhaps the man destined to be my true love partner isn't human after all. Might be my little birdie Kermie. But we won't go there with that. Kermie, I don't love you that way, darling. Not yet. You know, my true lover man might not be human. Might be waiting for me in the next dimension when I enter that perfected state. I've decided. I may be alone for the rest of my life. It makes me sad. No human mortal wants to be alone for the rest of their lives, especially as they age and become vulnerable in these dark and strange and twisted times. No one wants to be struggling alone. But, you know, I've done it for 30 fucking years, so I know that it's possible to continue in life for another 30 alone. It's not what I want, really, but I've made peace with that. Anyway, my Spanish spirit on Friday that brought in a Portuguese-speaking Brazilian who was eager, a bit eager. Sweet he was. He was sweet. To you, my darling. But my Spanish-speaking spirit, what did they say? Aliente, por favor. Extra courage. Cheering you on. What was the other meaning? Extra strength. Cheering you on. I've forgotten what the third aspect of that was. Encouragement, which is the same as cheering you on. So Mama T's being encouraged to carry on with her quest. It is a bit of a fucking holy grail, to be honest, trying to find who my true lover man is or will be, and who'll be there for me for this last phase of my life. 10, 20, 30 years. It's a long time. It's a big commitment that men are terrified of, by the way. It's asking a lot. But I'm getting better. And so I can make that commitment to myself. Pull myself up by my boots and keep on dancing, writing, creating, living my best life. Alone or in good company with the one. And not just the one, but whoever this person manifests to be in the future. Our beautiful tribe, friends, family, business associates, you know, community, whoever's surrounding us, welcoming us both as part of their lives too. As true lovers are always loved and protected, by the way. It's how it should be. Making room for those who genuinely love us. Oh, poor Mama T. Poor Mama T, nothing. I have spiritual gold and attitude and courage and enough love that could single-handedly generate enough power to turn the heart lights on of every human being on earth, but I don't tap into that resource very often because it's a bit frightening, people. It even scares me. It comes from God in all manifestations, and it's not my power. Right, and honestly, the price I pay is extraordinarily high, by the way, for being a catalyzer, a vessel of, you know, the hearts and heartfelt dreams and manifestations of the gods who, let's face it, are often tricksters and like to tease me too. Yes, that is the price that has been paid over and over again. Enough already. Enough, I tell you. Do you know what they reply? There's only one reply to that. Laughter. Laughter. Love makes fools of us all. Even the gods have struggled with that particular motif. Right, where was I? Ah, yes, people trying to assuage their own emotional and physical gratification. That sweet little tingling in the glands or in the clitoris can be the source of a great many problems that we could well have gone without, but temptations of the flesh. Ooh, babies. Well, that's what it was for, actually, initially created, so that we would procreate and have babies. People forget that part, you know, that that's what all that scintillating stimulation was actually designed for. And they turn it into something ugly and sordid with their greed and their lust and their corruption. Wainamoinen does not truly know or love the woman who was promised to him by her mother, Louhi, but she looks good and her family is important. He is asked to make a talisman, a task which, as he possesses magical powers, he can easily achieve. Yet he cannot be bothered to discharge this task himself and passes it over to his friend. As a result, Louhi's daughter falls in love with the talisman's maker, and Wainamoinen is rejected once again. This characteristic emotional blundering, which so many people experience in the first part of life, try second and third part of life, people of Earth, it's a lot, is presented in the Kalevala in a spare, no-nonsense way. Wainamoinen is young, self-centered and irresponsible. And he gets slapped in the face, metaphorically, if not literally. If he wishes to find meaning and purpose, and to become the true hero that he is destined to be, like you, my little Kermie boy, we're just going to whistle him a song like that. It's my favourite, one of my favourite songs. Ready? Are you ready, Kermie? You should see Bo, he's got his crest up and he's like, what the fuck is that? It's Iris. Don't you recognise Iris? Well, Mama T's not a musician. The two musicians that were flirting with me on Friday were bitterly disappointed about that. Musicians are a bit biased. Don't they know that there's other art forms? Some that they might not have even dreamed of yet. Right, where was I? I'm being a cow, because I can. Most musicians are very artistic as well. One of my favourite musicians, haven't been to any of his gigs or seen him in quite some years now, is Billy Williams of the Hip Shooters. Do you know why? He is a fabulous artist and inlays all his own guitars. You are a very impressive man, Billy Williams, because you have a broad scope of talents, a broad palette from which to paint life with. He's a wonderful man, actually. Not ever been romantically involved with him, don't misunderstand, but I greatly admire his talents, just as I greatly admired my friend Dr. John Bradley's, the associate professor when I last knew him. He was a talented man. I admire clever, talented, artistic and musical people. It's one of my favourite things in life, is to be surrounded by and with and participate in, well, as best as I can in my platonic celibate lifestyle, but participate in the magic that is creativity, art, music and literature. Not a sporty person, but that too is a form of creativity if you're into that sort of thing. You know, I'm not, but there are many who take great joy in that. So you see, the world is still a wonderful place and there are wonderful people still inhabiting it. Just got to be surprised and delighted when you meet them, like I met them on Friday. That's why I came home so happy. I was like, that's inspiring, you know. There's still loveliness out in the world. There really is. It's quite inspiring. All right, my little handsome Cooney boy. Are you all stirred up because I whistled to you, Iris? And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand when everything's made to be broken. I just want you to know who I am. But not too much, 'cause familiarity breeds contempt. Keep some mystery back, guy friends and girlfriends. Vaina Moinen does not truly know, or we read that. He asks to make a talisman that he can easily achieve. He sends it to his friend. His friend creates it, and the daughter falls in love with the friend. And he's rejected once again. Because he didn't follow through with his duty and his mission and his quest, like any fine knight of medieval, nobility and legend. You have to follow through. You have to stick it out. By the gods. It's painful sometimes, following through. I'm going to go and get my cuff to remind me to follow through. But you've also got to know when to let go. Let go and let love. This characteristic emotional blundering which so many people experience in the first part. We read that. Get sapped. Where did I lose my thread? That's right. If he wishes to find meaning and purpose and to become the true hero that he is destined to be, he will have to look further than the right wife and do more than expecting his friend to provide the answers. It is this friend, the embittered smith Ilmarinen. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, little handsome boy? Oh, you're flying around the room. Are you going to stir up little Bo? Okay, you stir up little Bo. Bo needs stirring up. He sits there like a stool pigeon all day. It's just very boring. It's a very boring little bird. Stir him up and put some life back into that zombie bird, Kermie? Yes? Give him a reason to be all fired up and vital. It's warming up. I'll have to put the boys outside soon. Right, where were we? It is this friend, the embittered smith Ilmarinen, who provides Vainamoinen with a more important goal. Stealing the talisman. Oh, you really is going to stir up Bo. I was just joking about that. Well, there you go. Bo, come out to play. Come and play with Kermie. Kermie wants to play with you, little Bo. Kermie probably wants to actually kill him, if the truth be known. Just come out and play, Bo. See what happens. If he gets mean, you can always go back in your cage and I'll separate you. Sometimes, little Bo, you've just got to take a chance. Like going out Friday night dancing. It's like that song by ABBA. Take a chance on me, la 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 la, la 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 la, and so on and so forth. Oh, I'm giddy with passion. That Brazilian must have sparked me up a little bit after all, even though I didn't go there. Sometimes it just takes that tiny little bit of recognition for a woman to slowly conflagrate or unfurl like a 1,000-petaled lotus. Right. Stop screaming with laughter, women of Earth. I can hear you. I heard that. In the space-time continuum, flowing back to me miraculously. Well, we all know, don't we, darlings? We all know. Right. It is this friend. I repeated that again. With a more important goal. Stealing the talisman, which, after all, was designed by the hero, and bringing it home to create prosperity in his own land. Vainamoinen has now begun to recognise that he belongs to a wider world. What's that little schmooky doing? Climbing across his cage, standing over him like a fucking mafia fucking minder. Are you being mean to the little boy? Are you? All right, you're not actually. Okay. You be a good little minder. The mumma's watching you. Right. He belongs to a wider world, and that others besides himself are important, namely his own people. Ilmarinen is, on one level, the dark side of the hero himself, his youthful bitterness, his disappointment at having his desires thwarted, and his recognition that high dreams and ideals wind up being, at best, compromised, and at worst, shattered. Oh well, shit happens, people of Earth. It really does. And when it happens like an extruding fan of effluent flowing uphill, opposed to gravity. Well, and on a deeper level, Ilmarinen's sad marriage and loss remind us that when we create only in order to win love and approval. Our creations may end up giving us no joy and may be used by others as selfishly as we have used them ourselves. You gonna fly? Come on. He likes that better than Iris. Or what about this one? He says, "You're crazy, Mama T." Yes, it helps actually to be crazy. Sometimes you have to go a little bit mad to save yourself. He's back on his cage now. He flew. He dropped a feather. What a formidable little birdie boy. Right. And on a deeper level, Ilmarinen's sad marriage and loss remind us that, we've read that, when we create only in order to win love and approval, our creations may end up giving us no joy and may be used by others as selfishly as we have used them ourselves. Yes, I concur with that. My first and only marriage is a fine example of that. Horror. Right, and open the blind a little bit more. That's better. Once Vainamoinen decides to steal the Sampo, the Kalevala never tells us exactly what it is. Things suddenly begin to go right for him. The huge fish that he accidentally kills, itself magical, provides the substance for a magical instrument that can lull his enemies to sleep. This is a strange mythic image suggesting that if we can seize opportunities as they present themselves, even in apparently unfortunate or dangerous situations, and create something individual out of those opportunities, we may progress further in our quest for meaning and purpose. The vengeance of Louhi is predictable. Even a magical hero cannot hope to have everything go his own way. And the terrible storm which nearly destroys the ship also smashes the talisman. If Vainamoinen were less than a hero, he would at this point no doubt give up and go home in despair. But you see, he followed through and so reaped the rewards of that stoicism and determination. But the hero is a hero because he, and potentially each of us, does not give up. Vainamoinen combs the waves for the pieces of the Sampo and manages to salvage just enough to bring reasonable, not total or perfect, prosperity to his people. Thus the hero's ideals are compromised and his effectiveness shown to be less than complete. Yet he has found a deeper and truer meaning than the one which originally drove him from home. The foreign bride is not in the end where Vainamoinen finds meaning. It is in the magic which he starts to create, fobs off, and then reclaims for his own, fighting for it in the face of danger and affirming its value, even though it has been irrevocably damaged, like Mama T's broken but kintsugi'd heart. It's a magic that had to be fought for and hard won on the coalface of human ignominy many, many, many times. So some dumb motherfucker tries to play me false and loose. I just slap on another band-aid, slather on some more gold, and spiritual gold, because it's a spiritual heart, and on we go with Corazon. And the dance continues, and the art form of the becoming of the Tanya continues, sometimes against my own will, you understand. That was a shock to the system. But on we go, and on we go, and on we go, and let's all have a bit more fun before we ultimately do die, because life's meant to be lived fully and vibrantly and joyously and kindly and courageously. In this way, each young person may find a sense of inner peace, of inner purpose and destiny, even in the midst of emotional disappointment, disillusionment, and apparently shattered dreams. Not just for the young either. Some of us old folks are still on that concentric circle of rebuilding our lives after every bitter, horrific disappointment. Oh. But I had a lovely time on Friday night, so I'm going to hold on to that until the next time I go dancing. Blessed be. Parsifal and the Grail. Asking the right questions. The Grail story synthesizes the myths and images of several different cultures, Celtic, Teutonic, and medieval French, into one moving tale of discovery, loss, struggle, compassion, and redemption. The Grail has been interpreted as many different things, from a pagan image of fertility to a Christian symbol of spiritual redemption. In all its different forms, the Grail is a symbol of life's deeper meaning. Here we meet Parsifal as a young man searching for meaning, but the quest is unconscious and the discovery bungled. We see here the difficulty of finding something when we do not really know what we are looking for. As a boy, Parsifal was kept from the world by his mother. His father had died in battle before Parsifal's birth, and his mother had nothing left but the youth whom she was determined not to lose. She kept him hidden in the depths of a forest and denied him knowledge of his noble birthright to be a knight like his father at King Arthur's court. But Parsifal's mother did teach him about God, assuring him that the love of God helps all those who live on earth. Thus, when one day he met a handsome, gentle knight who had been chased deep into the forest, Parsifal could only suppose that this superior creature was God himself. Although the youth was duly disillusioned, The meeting with the knight aroused his natural instinct to pursue his own destiny, and he begged his mother to let him go out into the world. What you doing, little Snippy? Mama's handsome boy. Mama's handsome boy. His mother at last gave her consent, and Parzival set off, dressed in a fool's clothing. His mother hoped that this attire would attract such derision that the youth would return home to her. But Parzival persevered in his quest, despite the mockery which followed him, and in due course arrived at the castle of Gurnemanz. This nobleman was prepared to act as a mentor to the youth and taught him the rules of chivalry. The fool's clothing was taken away, as were Parzival's foolish ways, and Gurnemanz instructed the youth in courtesy, and perhaps more importantly, in the ethics behind courtesy. Indeed. Never lose your sense of shame, Gurnemanz told the fledgling knight, and do not importune others with foolish questions. Always remember to show compassion to those who suffer. Although Parzival carefully memorized these fine words, he did not, however, truly understand them. He learned the outer forms, but not the inner meaning. In due course, Parzival's travels took him to a far-off land where the country was desolate and barren. In the midst of this wasteland stood a castle where he faced his first true test of manhood. It was, however, a task he was not yet ready for. In the castle lay an ailing king, thrashing on his bed in great agony. He was the Grail King, who had transgressed the laws of the Grail community by pursuing earthly love without permission. In punishment, he was wounded in the groin until such time as an unknown knight should ask 2 questions. Lord, what ails thee? The knight must first inquire of the sick king. There were also great marvels in the castle, and the Grail itself could appear to those who wandered in from the outside world. But the king could not be healed until the unknown knight should ask, Lord, whom does the Grail serve? In these 2 questions lay the redemption, not only of the sick king, but also of the wasteland. In every ghastly horror, including the COVID epoch of recent years, there is always some tiny, tiny piece of that puzzle, that quest, that journey that brings us our redemption. I haven't figured out what that is yet, because I'm not happy about what's been done to my fellow humans and our world. Not fucking happy at all. But there is always some part that will redeem us. And I don't believe in the apocalyptic fascism that's going around as a fashion trend these days either. Don't get me wrong. I'm not waiting for Jesus to have his second coming and save us. The only ones that can save us are ourselves. But there will be, in our own unique soul, our own unique DNA, our own unique humanness, some seed of redemption, which we each as individuals and as a collective will need to discover for ourselves and tap into and let it grow into the only magic worth having, which is love, nobility, kindness, compassion, and peace, which can only stem from better health outcomes and righteousness and basic goodness. Mama T has spoken. Mama T's a bit cray-cray, that's why she's on a disability pension, but she has spoken. You understand. Right. But when Parsifal saw the sick king on his bed, he only remembered the outer form of Gurnamansa's advice, that curiosity was rude, that he must not importune with foolish questions. He forgot about showing compassion to those who suffer, so he said nothing. And when the Grail itself appeared, accompanied by the sweet sounds of celestial music, carried in slow procession by the Grail Knights, guarded by maidens, and revealed in a burst of heavenly light, the young knight stared and stared, but clamped his lips shut because he feared looking foolish. So he said nothing. Then there was a great clap of thunder, and the castle vanished, and a voice pronounced, "Foolish, my boy, there's too much competition. You want to go outside, don't you? That's what you're telling me." But it was cold out there before I went to check. It had a bitter cold wind. Yes, soon. I can feel it's gotten warmer since then. That was an hour and a half ago. The day has evolved since that bitter cold irascible wind. Change is a constant. Move with it like water eroding away hard, embattled, embittered rocks. Be like water, people of Earth. But don't be a drip. No one likes a drip. Just saying. I just countermanded that whole philosophy in one sentence. Helps to be a bit cray-cray. But read between the lines. Right. Drip, 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 drip. It's like fucking Chinese water torture. It is. Can be painful. Being slowly eroded by drips. Dear goddess. Then there was a great clap of thunder, and the castle vanished, and a voice pronounced, "Foolish youth, you have not asked the questions you should have asked. Had you asked them, the king would have been healed and his limbs made strong again, and all the land would have been restored. Now you will wander in the wilderness for many years, until you have learned compassion." Mama has to be compassionate even to the drips. They too have served their purpose in the creation of my soul and my body and mind and spirit. I just wish they'd all sloughed off like a Salvador Dali painting. You know, the one where the clock melts and it's all just sliding away. Because the nearer your destination, people of Earth, the more you're just sliding away. There you go. There you go. And Parsifal, realizing his foolishness too late, rode off into the wilderness on a cold grey dawn, determined that one day he should earn the right to be vouchsafed the vision of the Grail again. Dear Goddess. Commentary. Parsifal could be any young person setting out into life. In his upbringing and character, we can see echoes of the story of Peredur, another myth with roots in the same Celtic tradition. Parsifal's mother is anxious because she knows that life does not always prove sweet, and she is scarred by her own loss. Rather than speaking to Parsifal of the trials, tribulations, and rewards that life holds, she keeps life's potential sorrows as well as joys firmly from him. Thereby he is underdeveloped. Many parents prefer not to worry their children. That is quite loud. That is quite loud, people of Earth. But you know, this is his home, and I'm in his space, and he's a birdie. Do you understand? Sing me a nice song, Kermie. We'll have to think up another song. I know, here's one. No, yours is better. You can outbeat the Beatles anytime, my boy. You probably can too. Right, not that I've got anything against the Beatles, you understand, but I'm talking in the broader meaning of Beatles. Someone yelled out, "Have you got a bug up your ass today, Mama T?" I have. I've been bugged. Rather than speaking to Parsifal, oh no, we read that. Keeping sorrows as well as joys from him. Many parents prefer not to worry their children with difficult truths about life and try to gloss over the challenging aspects. They might refuse to recognise that their child could become interested in sex, drugs and alcohol. And they provide no education on such matters or impose rules without explanation or discussion. Then they are horrified to learn of a child's addiction or unwanted pregnancy. However, the serpent comes to us all in some form, and Parsifal, meeting the night in the forest, discovers that there is life beyond his mother's sheltered domain. Hello, handsome boy. Parsifal is prepared to be taught by Gurnemanz, and this is a familiar theme in adolescence. We seek role models outside the family who can help us to separate from the family matrix and form an individuality of our own. But Parsifal merely parrots Gurnemanz. He is still too young and inexperienced to understand the significance of the older man's instruction. This is in part because his mother has not provided any sound ground in which Gurnamance's words could take root. The knowledge we acquire in youth and early adulthood can only contribute to building a solid sense of self. Where are you now, little snooks? Stirring up the bowl again. To building a solid sense of self if the soil is fertile and thus prepared by parents who are themselves willing to share their own experience with honesty. Thus, Parzival departs from Gurnamance's castle with information but no wisdom. He knows the rules of conduct but has no comprehension of their meaning or purpose. He has, as yet, suffered no disappointments or losses, and has not passed through any hard lessons from which he might learn compassion. Therefore, when faced with an ailing man writhing in agony, all he can think of is not appearing foolish. And when he is received a vision of the Grail, he can only bite his tongue and avoid saying anything that might sound stupid. In other words, he is preoccupied with how he appears to others and therefore unable to respond to the actual situation before him. Thus, he fails to ask the important questions and is driven out with only the realization of his failure and the dawning of a determination to one day redeem what he has lost. Before we continue, I'll just show you this lovely painting, Parzival's Education from Gurnemans by Edward Jacob von Steinler, 1810 to 1886. It's a feast for the eyes, all these wonderful art forms. Trying to get the light on it, but it's not going to work. Let us enlighten it, people of earth. And God said, let there be light, and the light is good. But too much light in one go, piercing you in your eyeballs, torture. But like Chinese water torture, or should that be Japanese water torture? No, their speciality was sticking little tiny bamboo splinters under the nails in Changi prison. It was a very cruel and evil thing to do to people. So, human beings and their capacity for torture is beyond awful. Right, and that goes across all nations, creeds and cultures. I'm not having a go at just the Japanese, by the way. It applies right across the board. Like we're all being tortured right now by the ignominy of the Epstein files. Another seeping torture without end. But we mustn't think about that right now, must we? Actually, we must. It needs to be dealt with and rooted out. That scourge of pedophilia. It's evil and foul beyond words and beyond worlds. That's why the aliens pass us by, think we're all monsters, which indeed many of us truly are. But happy thoughts. The two questions Parzival fails to ask are themselves deeply symbolic and tell us about the kind of attitudes we need to carry as we move out into life. They also tell us what kind of questions we need to encourage our children to ask in order to equip them for life. Lord, what ails thee? Is the question Parzival must address to the sick king. It embodies a genuine interest in and compassion for others. Behind all human actions and conditions there lie reasons which may be very different from the appearance we meet, and in questioning them we may discover that much of what we deem bad or unacceptable in life is the product of human weakness and ignorance, not human evil or inferiority. Here we go with the obfuscation and the gaslighting and the victim blaming, is that there's a seed of that already present there, which I recognise, which applies to paedophilia. Oh, they couldn't help it. They were victims as children themselves. Yes, they bloody well could, because they knew more than anyone else the harm that was done to them, yet they chose to perpetuate that onto other innocent children when they gained their own adolescence and or adulthood. To continuously perpetuate the same evil and perversions on other children, knowing what that felt like as a child, it's heinous. But let us continue. The less we know, the more we judge others, often unfairly and mistakenly, because we do not understand how they wound up as they are. Actually, we understand very well. We know exactly who and what they are and how they continue to choose to exist in this world. I have no compassion for those types of humans, if you can even still consider them human, because in my opinion, those who continuously perpetuate that have ceded their humanness and are now in the realms of the demonic. And they are legion, and they are everywhere, including in Hollywood and in our presidency. Just say. Right across the globe, no country or nation on earth is immune from it. No religion is immune from it. No secular society is immune from it. And it's a bloody hill that many of us will die on, fighting against it. A spiritual war which shall not end until the last perpetrator is prevented from continuing their perversions. It's why we have little birdies and animals rather than other mortals living with us in our house. Right. The less we know, the more we judge others, often unfairly and mistakenly, because we do not understand how they wound up as they are. Honestly, sometimes these psychologists just give you the fucking heebie-jeebies, how they obfuscate their responsibilities and duties. From a space of science, trust the science. No, don't trust them. Watching the obfuscation here is foul beyond belief. Nor do we understand our own difficulties until we can ask ourselves what we have done to put ourselves there. Victim blaming and gaslighting. Questioning is one of the great paths to compassion. When we encounter human misfortune, it does not become us to feel morally superior and virtuous if we know that we ourselves, given the same circumstances, might be capable of many of the actions for which we condemn others. Now, this is true in many aspects, but when it comes to rape and child sexual abuse, it is the most heinous obfuscation, and why our society is doomed to fail. The second question is, whom does the Grail serve? This question has puzzled and intrigued scholars since the first Grail stories were written. When we are confronted with any good fortune, whether it is early success, the gift of a loving relationship, or a spiritual experience of great value and import, yes, my darling, we need to ask what higher purpose this good fortune serves. This is in effect a religious attitude, although it is not limited to any specific religious persuasion or doctrine. It is a way of viewing life in which we perceive some deeper pattern and purpose. When life appears to offer us free rewards, we need to look beyond our self-congratulation and ask what higher purpose our gift might serve. This transforms any life experience into something meaningful, removing it from the clutches of the ego and allowing us to share our wisdom, vision, creativity, talents, and good fortune. Not at our own expense, but equally not entirely for our own benefit either. Such an attitude sanctifies life. The word sanctify comes from a Latin root which means to make sacred. And in asking this most fundamental of questions, we enlarge our vision and connect with a deeper and greater whole. This is what Parsifal, the young fool, fails to do, and this is what so often we all fail to do in youth, especially if we are given no wisdom or instruction in such attitudes when we are children. Parsifal must wander in the wilderness for many years until, through suffering, he learns the compassion and humility. What's my little baby doing? My sweet little baby. He's so quiet compared to his brother. They're not technically brothers. They're different species of birds, but they live together as brothers, so there is that. Parsifal must wander in the wilderness for many years until, through suffering, he learns the compassion and humility that allow him to find the castle again and ask the questions he should have asked all those years before. We too may need to wander for a long time until we learn these lessons. But perhaps with a little more wisdom, both as parents and as young people beginning our quest in life, we may be able to make that time shorter and less painful. Right. The third story is Perseus. Meaning lies in service. I'm wondering if I should put him outside since he's so fractious. Well, this isn't a very long story, so we'll just carry on, people of Earth. The story of Perseus is a tale of love and courage conquering hate and fear, and reflects the way in which the divine is present in all its progeny. Struggle and sacrifice on behalf of loved ones lead to the ending of conflict and the founding of an enduring family line. But the hero does not pursue this quest with consciousness. Very few young people are actually aware of a need to find meaning in life. What they are aware of is the need to make things better. Perseus starts out to save his unhappy mother, yet ends with far more than he had originally set out for. Before we begin, I'll show you this wonderful painting. Perseus Rescuing Andromeda by Giuseppe Cesare, 1568 to 1640. Armed with the deadly Gorgon's head and mounted on the winged steed Pegasus, the hero Perseus risked his life to rescue the princess Andromeda from the clutches of a terrible sea monster. And here she is in all her glory. And up there in the top right is Perseus and Pegasus. Perseus was the son of a mortal woman, Danae, and the great god Zeus, king of heaven. Danae's father, King Acrisius, had been told by an oracle that he would one day be killed by his grandson, and in terror he imprisoned his daughter and drove all her suitors away. But Zeus was a god, and he wanted Danae. He entered her prison disguised as a shower of golden rain. Don't say it, people of Earth. Don't go there. And the result of their union was Perseus. You went there, didn't you? I know. Acrisius, on discovering that he had a grandson, despite his precautions, bundled Danae and her baby into a wooden chest and cast them out to sea, hoping that they would drown. But Zeus sent fair winds to blow mother and son across the sea and gently to shore. The chest landed on an island where it was found by a fisherman. The ruling king of the island took Danae and Perseus in and gave them shelter. Perseus grew up strong and brave, and when his mother was troubled by the unwanted advances of the king, the youth accepted a challenge thrown down by this unwelcome suitor to bring him the head of the Gorgon, Medusa. Perseus accepted this dangerous task not because he wanted to acquire personal glory, but because he loved his mother and was willing to risk his life to protect her. The Gorgon Medusa was so hideous that one glance at her face turned the observer to stone. Perseus needed assistance from the gods to conquer her, and Zeus, his father, made sure that this assistance was offered. Hades, king of the underworld, lent him a helmet that rendered its wearer invisible. Hermes, the divine messenger, provided him with winged sandals, and Athene gave him a sword and a special shield polished so brightly that it served as a mirror. With this shield, Perseus could see Medusa's reflection, and thus, hello Kookaburra, Cookie's here, and thus severed her head without looking at her hideous face. He's so cute. He heard me and he turned his head as if to say, "Where are you?" He knows I'm not outside. With the monstrous head safely concealed in a bag, he headed home. On the voyage, he spied a beautiful maiden chained to a rock on the seashore, awaiting death at the hands of a terrifying sea monster. he learned that her name was Andromeda, and that she was being sacrificed to the monster because her mother had offended the gods. Who was that arriving in a strange-looking ute on a Sunday? Probably someone lost. Touched by her plight and her beauty, Perseus fell in love with her and set her free by turning the sea monster to stone with the Gorgon's head. Oh, it's people going to the forest to walk their little doggy. Oh, that's okay. Just wondered if I had visitors, but I don't know who those people are. Right. Sweet little doggy we've got though. Oh, she's a sweetie. Right. Touched by her plight and her beauty, Perseus fell in love with her and set her free by turning the sea monster to stone with the Gorgon's head. He then brought Andromeda back to meet his mother, who, in his absence, had been so tormented by the advances of the wicked king that in desperation she had taken refuge in Athena's temple. I'm wondering why she didn't just cut his throat like a normal woman would have. Oh dear, did I say that out loud? Yes, I did. I'll get myself in trouble one day. But, I get all, encouraged by the myths. It's just the myths talking. Once more, Perseus held the head of the Medusa aloft, thus turning his mother's enemies to stone. High five on that one, Perseus. He then gave the head to Athena, who mounted it on her shield, where it became her emblem forever after. He also returned the other gifts to the gods who had provided them. He and Andromeda lived in peace and harmony thereafter and had many children. His only sorrow was that one day, while attending some athletic games, he threw a quoit which was carried exceptionally far by a gust of wind. It accidentally struck and killed an old man. This man was Perseus's grandfather, Acrisius. And thus the oracle which the old man had once sought to cheat was finally fulfilled. You can't escape your destiny, unfortunately. You think you can, but ironically it catches up with you in the end, people of Earth. But Perseus had no spirit of spite or vengeance in him, and because of this accidental death, he no longer wished to rule his rightful kingdom. Instead, he exchanged kingdoms with his neighbour, the king of Argos, and built for himself a mighty city, Mycenae, where he lived long with his family in love and honour. A happy ending after all. Commentary. The tale of Perseus begins with fear. Acrisius is afraid of the oracle's prophecy and tries to do away with his own daughter and infant grandson. The theme of age-fearing youth is a familiar one in myth, and Acrisius embodies the negative attitude that the old can sometimes have towards the young. Perseus's name, which means destroyer, describes his role as slayer of the Medusa, But Acrisius sees the destruction only in relation to himself. The god Zeus in the story plays the part of a good father who watches over his child, invisibly guiding and protecting both mother and son so that their lives can be preserved. Danae is loved and cherished by Zeus, and in turn she loves and cherishes her son despite her own father's destructive character. Perseus responds to this love by gladly risking his life for his mother. When his mother is distressed by the aggressive pursuit of the king, Perseus decides to leave home and conquer any monsters which might threaten her safety. He is impelled out into the world by his desire to protect someone precious to him, rather than seeking to learn the meaning of life. Although he is helped by the gods, he uses their help wisely and modestly. He is ingenious and courageous in disposing of the Medusa, and when he falls in love, he is fearless in defending his beloved's enemies. Although he leaves his mother, he draws on his positive relationship with her to perform courageous deeds. Unlike Peridor, Parsifal and Gwynplaine, who sever their ties with home rather abruptly in order to find themselves. I don't know why my tummy's rumbling as I'm starving, and I actually had a lot to eat this morning. I finished off some potato and sweet potato that I boiled up a few days ago, and I had yogurt. And now you should hear my belly singing the songs of its people. It's yogurt, isn't it? Maybe it's not hunger, maybe it's just an IBS flare. Oh, you have to laugh. The joys of old age, people. If you live long enough, you too shall have to make peace with your own inner digestive system. I haven't made peace with mine yet. It's a continuous war, like the war against pedophilia. Either way, it gives you the shits, just saying. Right. Oh, but I'm so hungry. I do feel hunger. Maybe I need to eat some more. But I'm just getting fatter and fatter and fatter. Wow. There are times when I'm not that hungry, so it all comes back like the sword of Damocles into some kind of 0 point field of nothingness. Nothing being Shakespearean English for vagina, you understand. I do hope I'm not going to be forced to live another incarnation after this one. Climb out of someone's vagina and spend the rest of my life trying to make peace with that. Certainly I hope in the next incarnation, if I'm forced to endure another lifetime, people, I don't get another fucking rotten, evil bitch of a mother. That really is the initial wounding from which we all have to recalibrate from, by the gods. Well, I wasn't lucky in this life when it came to family and, who knows? Maybe the gods might smile upon me one day. Perseus is always decent and gentlemanly, an image of something within each of us which can achieve goals without making the blameless suffer. If they are truly blameless, though. He He punishes only those who deserve punishment, which is fair, and he always honours and respects the gods, which is noble. He gives back their gifts because he knows that he is mortal and has no right to claim divine attributes, which is humble. To the very end of the story, he behaves sensitively, giving up his rightful kingdom because of the unhappy death of his grandfather. He can forgive Acrisius for the old man's corrosive fear and does not feel obliged to seek revenge. Perhaps that is why he lives long and happily with his mother, his wife, and his children. An unusual occurrence in Greek mythology. Indeed. Right, thus concludes today's offerings of the 20th of July 2025 of even date. And I shall read part 3 tomorrow. We're in for a treat tomorrow. Some of my favourite myths indeed. So there you go, people of Earth. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to put my boys out in the sunshine now that it's a bit warmer. I think they will enjoy that. We're going to go to the Sacred Space Garden, Kermit. Go out in the garden. Yes, in your Sacred Space Garden. Especially for you birdie boys. And a mama tea gifted to me by the gods and the Australian government as small compensation for all that they robbed me from me in my 30s and 40s. But we'll try to strive towards forgiveness for my happy ever after. My darlings, blessed be. Have a wonderful day, no matter what, no matter who, no matter where and when, and no matter how. Attitude is everything. It's your life and make the most of it. May the gods always carry our favour.